The family support group has the purpose of bringing family members of people that are experiencing a mental health condition, so that these family members can share with others going through similar experiences as far as being, supportive and trying to understand their loved one. And to me, the first thing is that you're not alone. We're not alone because you feel very alone. At the beginning, when the diagnosis comes on, there's been behaviors and things happening, and finally there's a diagnosis. And then, you can't just talk to anybody about it because there's a lack of understanding about the things that are happening. But when you come together with other folks that are having, similar experiences, there is safe space to talk about these things that are happening and the feelings that we have and the fears that we have and the concerns for the future and all the things that family members go through from their perspective. I found out about NAMI to begin with through a newspaper ad, little bitty ad. And there was a family to family education program. And, my son had been in and out of the hospital in Florida, in Miami, we lived there. And then we were in Georgia. So it was years into my son's diagnosis. And so I, signed up for the class, and it was uh, illuminating. And I found a lot of support in that group. And again, that I'm not alone, that I wasn't alone in what was the struggle that we were having. Then after the family to family, I was told that there was a support group that I could, continue to participate and not only get something from the meeting and get support and maybe resources, ideas, and brainstorming, but I could contribute as well to other people. Okay. Oof. I have benefited tremendously. And then as a result, my son has benefited also, because in learning how to be a supportive family member, some of the things that we do as, in a regular situation just don't work out with a mental health condition. And so I learned different ways to communicate, different ways to approach a problem, different ways to show that I was on his side. Because a lot of times, as a parent or a family member, you feel like you're butting heads. And so I learned a lot of things, and we get to share different books that we've read that have been helpful. There are some that are just almost like standard. Read this book, it's going to help. Do the family to family class. So we share information during our meeting, resources like, if somebody is going through some legal challenges due to the mental health condition, then what attorneys are there? What about disability? How is the process? There's a lot that we share in that meeting. And not to leave ourselves, not to ignore ourselves either, we talk about self-care as well. So, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we certainly cannot be a good support to our loved one.
Yeah.
So we learn about self-care, and every time we meet, we each will state what we're going to do for ourselves that week to, something we enjoy, something that takes our attention and focus and is healing. Like some people will go to Zumba class, some people will play with clay or work in the garden or go ride a horse, see a movie. I mean, it can be anything, but we bring that to the group's attention that we also must care for ourselves. So these meetings are designed to be productive. So there's an order to it. There's an agenda. It's the same agenda for each week. We share it because there's new people sometimes, and each week can be different. So basic, going over our guidelines, principles of support. Then we share a little bit of what's going on in the present. We use 2 or 3 minutes of time and talk about what's going on lately because we all have a long story and that will come up little by little. But the idea of the meeting is to address things that are happening now, because what happened happened. But right now, what are we going to do? What ideas can I get here? What can we, let's brainstorm and help somebody who's going through a crisis right now. What things helped other people before in the similar situation? Then we discuss after each person presents their 3 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes of their story. So we discuss, share resources, ideas, brainstorming, encouragement, maybe some good books to read, a good read, etc. Then we go into which principle of support are we going to keep in mind until the next meeting or for the next 2 days, whatever we can do to keep our focus on these guidelines that help us remember that, our loved one has an illness and that there's a person there first, and then they have an illness. So it keeps reminding us these principles of support or perspectives that we can have that are more helpful in the situation. And then we share about what we're going to do to care for ourselves, and we adjourn. That's basically it.